Hello and welcome to this brand new vlog on leadership. Thank you for joining me on your journey to becoming the best leader that you can be. Today's topic is leaning forward. Some have tried to coin the phrase falling forward, and I love the idea. All of us in our human experience, we fall, we make mistakes. And in our leadership journey, it's no different. We make mistakes. The only difference there is that other people are involved in the fall, if you will. And so it can have higher stakes when we're leading and making mistakes than when we're just making mistakes in our own lives. And I love the concept of falling forward because we are making mistakes and we're going to make mistakes. That should not keep us from taking risks or trying to do big endeavors. Falling forward is a good concept. But today we just want to talk about leaning forward because my heart is that life is always moving forward. And it's so true, if we choose to stay where we are, then we're actually losing ground. Because Chronos, the ticking of time, it's always marching forward. And if we choose to anchor at any point, then we're losing ground, not even staying status quo. So the concept of leaning forward is really about us as leaders learning to continually lean into the future. It's not that living in the future, but leaning into the present, and from the present, leaning into tomorrow. In fact, it's hard to lead someone if you're not out in front. By definition, a leader is out in front. So we're going to talk about leaning forward. You know, a great leader is always learning. Never stagnant, never settling for what they already know, but always learning, always growing, and always maturing, first for themselves and then for those that they lead. And think of it. It's important that we have it in that order. If we're only learning and maturing and growing for those that we lead so that we can lead them better, it's kind of myopic, it's singular in its focus, and at some point, it will be counterproductive. But if we learn to and desire to grow and mature for ourselves first, then the secondary desire to learn and process to learn and grow for those that we lead will almost be natural. You know, what you know and what you do not know, both of them can kill you. It's so true. What you know can kill you. Corinthians tells us that knowledge puffs up. Then it says that the Spirit is the one that gives life, but it's the letter that kills. Now remember, the garden, it's not just the pursuit of knowledge that's important. The pursuit of knowledge, of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, was actually the wrong choice. It's the pursuit of life that's important. And along the way, we will gain knowledge, and God will add wisdom to that knowledge so that that knowledge doesn't kill us, but that knowledge actually becomes a piece of our puzzle to help us live and lead well. So what you know actually can kill you. Also, what you don't know can kill you. And it's the what you don't know sometimes as a leader that really is easily avoidable if we learn to lean forward in our lives. So the key here is to be curious. It's to be curious. I'm a life coach. I've gone through a program, certified program. I love coaching people in their lives, coaching people in ministry, coaching people in business, also an entrepreneur, lead a church, love discipling people, love mentoring people, love fathering people. The key to growing and leaning forward is staying curious in life. It says that the old adage that curiosity is what killed the cat. But I would say to you, if you're not curious, you're not growing. If you haven't learned to stay curious, you're not continuing to grow, even in the kingdom of God as a believer. Curiosity is what leads us forward. It's what produces in us questions, and we'll talk about questions in a moment. You see, especially in the kingdom, curiosity is really important. Jesus said, if you don't become like a little child, you can't even get into the kingdom. Let me give you 3 words that will help you develop a lifestyle of leaning forward as a leader. First word, what? Real simple words. What, who, and how. What? Number 1, what? What are you doing? Take a simple check of what it is that you're doing. I know this is so simple that we so quickly pass it by to our own detriment and to the detriment of those we're leading. Because the ultimate question isn't the 10-year down the road question, where am I going to be? The ultimate question is what? What am I doing now? What are you doing now? What is the task in front of you. What is your current assignment? If you can't do your current assignment well, planning and excitement and visioning toward the next assignment will do you no good, because by the time you get to that assignment, you'll either be wore out or you will have crashed and burned, and no one will want to follow you on the next assignment. So the question of what will help you keep leading in. What are you doing? What do you need to learn to do that well? Here's the learning component. Here's the leaning in component. Don't just rely on, hey, I've done something similar, so this is just going to be a piece of cake. Well, wonderful that you had cake last time. What about putting icing on the cake this time? Learning to lean forward helps you answer, or gives you motivation to answer the question, what? What do you need to know so that you can do this current assignment well? And what do you need to know to lead your team well? Take time to answer the question, what? Second question, or second word, is who. Who do you know that might have some insight into what you need to learn? Who do you know? Who's around you? I guarantee you that God has put many amazing, influential people around you just to give you that kind of insight and wisdom. So who do you know that might have some insight? And don't get hung up on exact situations and comparing exact situations. Well, they're not exactly, don't get hung up on that. Situational awareness is important, but don't get hung up on having to have the exact match, right? Circumstances and wisdom in circumstances transfer to relative circumstances. So the question of who really gets to your peers. Start with your peer group, right? Who's around you? Who are your friends? They may live in 30 states over, down southwest, and you may be in the northwest. You've got a great distance. It doesn't matter, right? We're learning in a current season that we can Zoom and we can do virtual meetings. We can have a phone call. We can text. Make the effort to ask the question to your peers. Tell them where you're at. Maybe don't even tell them where they're at. Just ask them, if you find yourself in this kind of situation, or have you found yourself in this kind of situation? And if you have, what did you do? And what did you learn from that process? That's a great way to gather information, and it's out of the question who. Who's around you? Who are your peers? So start with your peers, then go to your gurus, right? There's bookshelves behind me, and they're filled with books that I have purchased along the way of my own journey, where I have desired to learn from the gurus. I've got John Maxwell's collection, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership and how to lead yourself well and lead others well. All those other great books, and so many others. I've had a voracious appetite to learn from those who have gone on before me, who have gone further than I have gone. Take advantage of workshops and seminars like the Global Leadership Summit. And I don't get a kickback. I'm just giving you great suggestions. Ask the question who. Who might have something that you could use to learn from, right? So go to the gurus. And the last thing about who is, who's your team? A good leader learns to draw from their team. You build a team around you that has different parts of the answer. And so when you gather the team together as a team, you have a much better answer together than you have separate. So answer the question who. After you've answered the question what are you doing? What do you need to learn? Answer the question who. Who's around you and who can you pull from? And the last question is how. How did it go the last time? And this gets to a really important life skill that I talk about a lot, and it's the 1 minute debrief. It doesn't have to be 1 minute, but people get hung up on it, all this processing, and they navel gaze and they spiral down and all that. Don't do that. But debrief is so valuable. You can simply do it in about a 1 minute thought process, right? You don't have to. You can take longer and you unpack deeper. And boy, if that's your thing, do it. It's important for you. Awesome, go do it. But you don't have to be in the hour-long debrief. You can learn to do a 1 minute debrief cycle in your life. And after an event, after a situation, after a conversation, after a life goal that you might have accomplished, do a 1 minute debrief. Do the thought process. How did that go? What went well? What didn't go so well? What do I need to improve on when I get to this kind of situation in the future? So answer the question how. How did it go the last time I was in something like this? Or just how did it go the last time I was in anything? Like I just came out of something, right? How did that go? And even if those are unrelated, it might be You might be able to find some great things to help spur you on to be a better leader in this circumstance. It's the 1-minute debrief. How can I improve on the outcomes, my communication, the plan, the team, and the leading, right? So stay curious as a leader and keep growing. Keep leaning in. Never stop learning or wanting to learn more or become a better person and a better leader.